looking at the technological advances. I used to be on dial-up looking for...
Welcome to 3-Count Commentaries. This is your host, MagMongoSlade. Apparently, everybody wants me to talk about this Darby Allin and Cora Jade kerfuffle that took place. It's been going on for a while. It's still going on. People are not over it. As some people are acting like this is the first time they've ever heard of this Darby Allin sexual assault allegation. It's been going on for like a year or so. Maybe even more than that. And some people are like, what? I didn't know anything about this. And it's like, well, you must not have been paying attention. Either that or AEW did a really good job of smoothing that over. But to catch up people who might have been, let's say you're not paying attention. What took place was a fan asked or was joking and said that he wanted to see a Darby Allin versus Cora Jade skateboard match. Darby Allin responded, "Skating is a huge part of my life and not a fake character for TV. LOL. Cora Jade then responded, "Being a good person with no abuse allegations against me is a huge part of my life and not just a character I play on TV." And the internet erupted. People are like, she dunked on him. Both of them ended up deleting the tweets. And it ended up being like a really big deal for a little while. So my thoughts on this, and I really don't have a horse in the race, to be quite honest. I'm not really a huge fan of Darby Allin, even though I do think that he has a lot of momentum. He's got some good stuff going for him. Cora Jade is very young. You know, I haven't seen the depths of what she can do yet, you know. So she's okay so far. She's pretty bland, but, you know, again, her push is pretty new. We'll see what she can do in the future. I will say this. I am big on the innocent until proven guilty situation. Now, you can say that AEW didn't do a very good job, or the police, who should be doing the investigations, didn't do a good job of trying to figure out whether Darby Allin did this or not. We have, as usual, moved away from these allegations, which we don't know whether they're true or not, to other things Darby Allin has done. So somebody posted an audio of Darby Allin talking to Chris Jericho. And he's talking about paying some guy to put his head in the toilet, which was filled with shit and piss and not flushed for a week. And he gave the guy $3 to put his head in the toilet. And this means that Darby Allin is a terrible person. He's a horrible guy. He's the worst guy in the history of guys. And I'm just kind of like, it sounded to me like it was a Jackass kind of thing where, you know, like a double dog dare with money involved. And then the guy just did it. It's not like he forced the guy's head in the toilet like he was a bully or something like that. If a guy puts his head in the toilet for money, then, you know, he's the kind of guy who put his head in the toilet for money. That doesn't make Darby Allin a bad guy, you know. But I do want to discuss this Cora Jade thing here, because she says being a good person with no abuse allegations against me is a huge part of my life. I think she has the wrong idea. She's very young. So maybe she'll stumble across this video. Maybe somebody else will. Maybe some other young person will listen to this. I will say this. Throwing abuse allegations at people's faces doesn't make you a good person. You know that's a sensitive issue for him. Sensitive issue for everybody. For people who have ever been accused. For somebody to keep bringing up these accusations. That doesn't make you good. In fact, it's the opposite. You know? Even if you saw this nudge and you say that it was uncalled for. Okay. But just because he nudged you doesn't mean you throw a grenade in his pocket. It doesn't mean you know, shoot a rocket launcher at him and almost completely ruin the guy's career. Because again, now he has to deal with this. You know, that doesn't make you a good person. And I think sometimes when you're virtue signaling, too often people think that, well, I'm a good person, you know, and this is what good people do. It's like, well, no, because if you're really a good person, you would understand that it's a difficult situation for everybody involved. The person who made the comments, the allegations rather, and for Darby, and for everyone else, you know, the fans of both you and him. Everyone now has to deal with this and tackle with this situation that you created. And then you get to just walk away and delete your tweets. I mean, it is what it is. But to me, that's not good person behavior. I wouldn't bring up somebody's abuse allegations against them unless we were really willing to take it there. Like if we was going to the extreme, maybe. But just to sort of get back at him for calling me a fake skater, I don't know. I don't know about that one. Now, at the same time, Darby Allin and all these other skaters, what I saw on Twitter was absolutely absurd. He was right to protect the skating subculture. We take it so seriously. You can't be a fake skater. I'm like, okay, look. Every subculture has that sort of gatekeeping mindset that we want to protect the sanctity of our subculture by keeping out fakes. We were doing it with comic books. We do it with video games. And I say, look, as far as gatekeeping is concerned, nothing will ever beat gangs, right? Like it ain't Compton, right? You show up in certain places with red shoelaces, you get smoked, period. So that's serious. What you're talking about is just skating. I know that some people may be like, skating is very important to me. Like, yeah, maybe it is, but it ain't life or death. It ain't something that you absolutely have to protect or you feel like is in, some of these guys, when it comes to certain things, and I know that comic books are your life or video games are your life. And it's something you've done your whole life and somebody comes along and trying to use it for clout. I get it. It sucks. I see that with wrestling fans. A lot of them try to use wrestling to get clout. They're not really wrestling fans, but then again, they might just be young people. Who knows? But it's not that serious. It ain't that serious. Now, what I saw from Darby Allin was a light jab. It was definitely a passive aggressive tweet on Darby Allin's part versus an actively aggressive tweet from Cora Jade. And to me, it seemed like she overreacted and they just sort of agreed to delete the tweets and let it all die down. And it's not going to, because again, a lot of people are acting like this is the first time they've ever heard about Darby Allin in this situation. Ultimately, though, I heard it gets a little bit messier than this. I don't know how sure it is that the girl who caused the allegations against Darby Allin, or one of the girls, I guess there's supposedly more than one, is a friend of Cora Jade's and a former tag team partner of hers. I don't know how true that is. Maybe they worked the indies together because all these people aren't from the indies. That's entirely possible. We know that she works with Darby's wife or ex-wife, however that goes, Gigi Dolan in NXT. So she also stood up for him. Gigi Dolan did. So it's a difficult situation. It's an ugly situation. And young people really should think about this kind of stuff more before they really just start lobbing these bombs at one another. Because now you do have a lot of people who were kind of indifferent to Cora Jade, don't like her. Or, the Darby Allin has a pretty solid fan base in AEW. A lot of those people are going to be loyal, ride or die, But then you also got the virtue signaling crowd. And those people clashed into each other on Twitter and made for, pretty hilarious tweet storms back and forth at one another. And I just thought it was silly. All of this is silly. The guy's innocent until proven guilty. He wasn't even arrested. I don't have these knee-jerk reactions. But the one time I did have a knee-jerk reaction was Alberto El Patron and the situation with him supposedly kidnapping and threatening that woman. And that's because I read those things aloud and it was like, and then he was actually arrested. So that means that there's probably some evidence there that he had did something. They had pictures. They had all kinds of stuff. So I kind of knee-jerk reaction was like, oh my God, he's a son of a bitch. But then he ended up beating the case. In most of these speaking out allegations, there was no photographs. There was nothing. There was just guys, or girls rather, telling stories. Sitting around the campfire, gossiping about somebody's life and trying to swift boat their career. I don't appreciate that. I don't like that. So I'm not really on Darby's side because ultimately he started it. He shouldn't have even said anything about this girl. He should have just said, this is something I do for real. Now, a lot of people seem to think that Cora Jade is just a the WWE machine created this character, this gimmick. And I say always, the NXT machine is a little bit more complex than most people are willing to give it credit for. You know, people think that, you know, you come into the WWE wearing white shirt, white pants, white socks, white underwear, and next you know, they start slathering you in all kinds of gimmicks, and then they push you out the other side in your whatever somebody came up with. And then you find out later on that this is something that the other person came out with on their own. So who knows whether she came up with Cora Jade on her own, or whether everything about the character, including the skateboard, the hat, everything. We don't know how much of that is something that she's actually interested in versus how much of that is WWE creating for her. And people can say, well, it's different from what she was doing on the indies. And I can say how much of that is something that somebody told her to do versus how much of it is what she wanted to do or what she thought was cool. Like, again, we don't know. We don't really know. You know, I know that on the independents, I think she used to drag a coffin with her, but she can't do that in WWE because that's Undertaker's gimmick. But so they gave her a skateboard. She could be interested in more than one thing. She could also be a skateboarder, but just not be, you know, it's a huge part of her life or whatever. She could be a skateboarder, but only on Sundays, you know, for a couple of minutes, and then that's it. Just because you do something doesn't mean you have to do it that deeply. Like, I play chess. Does that make me a grandmaster at chess? No. I play chess probably a couple of times a year. You know, I know the rules. I know how to move the pieces. Am I good? Not really. Am I not a chess player because I'm not a grandmaster or I don't play every single day? No. I play when I feel the urge to play. You know, she may skate when she has time. She may skate with somebody else, or, you know, she only skates with other people. And in any event, it's just skating, bro. You know, it's not that big of a deal. It's not like, you know, Michael Eric Dyson is going to go on television talking about, I'm a professor for real. And you got this Andre Chase pretending to be a professor on television. It's like, come on. It's not that big of a deal, man. You know, you see that kind of stuff with like MMA fighters and stuff like that. You know, I fight for real, unlike these pro wrestlers. Because for them, fighting is, you know, life and death. You know, it's how they feed their families, how they make money. For a lot of these guys, you know, it's just a hobby. For Darby Allin, skating was just a hobby. He was more interested in film. He's more interested in wrestling. You know, oh, but he's a professional. Like, sure, I'm sure he is. Okay, but ultimately, he doesn't skate for a living. He wrestles for a living. You know, if he really loved skating that much and he was really that good at it, then he should go skate for a living. And then he should just leave wrestling alone. But you can have hobbies and they be very important to you. But we have to understand, we have to keep it within, you know, certain boundaries. And I do understand gatekeeping because, yeah, it can be annoying when people are trying to use your favorite hobby for clout. I get it. But nobody's going to give her clout for skateboarding or riding a skateboard to the ring. Skateboarding ain't been big in the United States since the X Games first introduced, since the Tony Hawk video games were big. I don't even know if they're still big. I know they were really big when I was a kid, and I actually knew black people who didn't have a skateboard at all playing Tony Hawk Pro Skater. You know, that's when skateboarding was big. That was like in maybe 99, 2000, maybe 2001. It was definitely before 2003. You know, I started seeing homeboys who never even seen a skateboard in their life. Like, man, you just play that Tony Hawk game? Like, nah, then let's go play it. You know, somebody else might have it. But other than that, skateboarding is not that big of a deal in where I grew up. So I'm sorry if I'm downplaying it for the skateboarders out there. I just don't see it. When I talk about, you know, people might be, somebody might get hurt or, you know, doing stuff for clout. I've seen guys claim to be from neighborhoods that they're not from and get their ass beat. I'm talking left bloody in the street because they said they was from 7 Mile and they weren't from nowhere in that area. Okay. And yes, dudes will check. Who do you know over there? You know, where you say your mama live at again? And then if you wrong address, wrong numbers, wrong names, they stomp you the fuck out right there. So yeah, this kind of thing is low on the totem pole for me, dog. You know, all the fake gamers, fake skateboarders, fake comic book readers. Yeah, it sucks and it's annoying. But we should always keep it in perspective. You know, you weren't really messing with her character by saying that she's a fake skater on TV. So she overreacted. And I will say that. She definitely overreacted. But she reacted in a way where, again, she's probably some young emotional kid. So she just reacted the way she knew how. And then to her reaction was wrong. You know, you don't do that. You don't, throw allegations in people's faces and then claim to be a good person. That's not how that works. You know? If she was really a good person, she would have asked him to delete that comment, or she would have showed like a video of herself skating, saying like, "Oh, really? I skate too. What do you mean?" And then it really would have made him look bad, because then he would have been talking out of school about something he didn't know nothing about. But apparently, she is a fake skater. She didn't post a video of herself skating. But ultimately, it doesn't matter. It's fiction, dog. I don't think the skateboard really does Darby Allin any favors. To me, it's an immature part of his character, and I think he would be better off without it. Cora, Jade, I don't like the skateboards. They're stupid. But her character is supposed to be young and exuberant and all that kind of stuff, and it would make sense for her to be a young girl into skating. But let's say it wasn't skating and it was BMX biking or whatever. Would her character really change that much? No, because her character isn't about being a skater. She just carries a skateboard. I don't think she's ever cut a promo at all about skating. At all. So it's not like she's using it and claiming to be a part of something. It's just part of her gimmick. So it's very strange. All of this over a skateboard. It seems very silly. And it seems very immature. And to the point where this is what wrestling has got to. And yeah, wrestling is all about, guys who, like I told the story of Bruiser Brody beating up a guy who was stealing his gimmick. He said the guy was stealing his gimmick. The guy was actually mocking him. I think his name was Ed Schaffler in St. Louis. Bruiser Brody does the husk. If you probably saw the Berserker in the WWF, he was sort of a rip on Bruiser Brody. And, Brody saw this guy doing this in St. Louis. Beat the shit out of him for it. Because the guy was mocking him. Andre the Giant, saw Big John Studd doing the step over the top rope thing. And Andre the Giant like, that's my thing. And was, pretty aggressive with Big John Studd over it. So yeah, Shawn Michaels telling guys not to wear black and green because that's the DX colors. Taz getting all tight-assed about people wearing orange and yellow or orange and black because those are Taz's colors. Yeah, people get defensive over their gimmicks too in wrestling. Some of it is petty, some of it is not. You do have to make sure that, somebody isn't cutting into your business, because your business is your stuff. Your gimmick is your business, and you're an independent contractor. It's not, you have to make sure that people aren't doing your shit, But at the same time, I think it's become a little bit more lax in recent years over guys and girls stealing gimmicks and doing things that other people have already done. Like you saw Kenny Omega do the V-trigger, and then you started seeing a bunch of other people do it. And the fans get more defensive about it than Kenny Omega ever did. Because he kind of knows how the game goes now. It's a copycat business. If people see something works, they copy it. So Andre the Giant getting upset about Big John Studd, it's like, yeah, he stole your gimmick. But at the same time, everyone knows that you steal somebody else's gimmick too. King of the Battle Royal, that was somebody else's gimmick. The Eighth Wonder of the World, that was somebody else's gimmick. The Giant, fighting 2 or 3 guys at one time, that was somebody else's gimmick too. So it happens. People get older and then they start passing the gimmicks on to the people who are younger. It happens. So I understand Darby being frustrated from multiple different perspectives. From the perspective of he's a real skater and she's not. I understand that. You know, has been as a guy who, you know, operates in certain circles. You do get to the degree where you don't want people claiming things that aren't real. I get that. I also understand that, you know, it's kind of an infringement on his gimmick in wrestling. He's the one who had the skateboard out there, and now she's got a skateboard, and it's kind of like, ugh, you know, she's kind of stealing my stuff. I get that too. But at the same time, it's a completely different ball game in wrestling today, where everybody is doing everybody's stuff, and everyone knows it's fiction. It's not real, and also it's just a skateboard. So, to me, all of this is very bizarre. It's very silly. But I'm not surprised that young people get into this kind of stuff. But Cora Jade needs to chill, because trying to ruin a guy's career because you don't like his tweet is very petty, you know. And both of them are being pretty petty, but you know, that was kind of a big dig. You know, you're trying to cost this guy's entire life for this stuff. You know, this stuff today won't just end his career. Well, not just end his AEW run, I should say. It'll end his career. There's guys who have not, you know, been able to bounce back from allegations against him. Velveteen Dream being one of them. He can't even get a small independent booking after people, you know, had these allegations against him. There were other guys. Marty Scurll, he's completely out of the business. I think the other guy, one of the he's on NXT UK. Jack Gallagher, I think he's completely out of the business too. There's a lot of these guys that they got busted. They're completely out of the business. Jimmy Havoc is another one, completely out of the business. We don't know whether this stuff is true or not. Now, I'm pretty sure some of them, you know, admitted to certain things and, you know, they kiboshed their whole career. But Darby Allin has said it's not true. Nobody's ever proven that it wasn't, that he was a liar or that she was telling the truth. Nobody provided any evidence. Nobody provided any pictures. You know, he didn't get arrested. Nothing happened. You want AEW to do more. What more do you want them to do? Be specific. You know, you want Tony Khan to sit down and interview the young lady who made the allegations and say, I think that's what Tony Khan should do. He should have agents and officials of AEW sit down with this young lady and say, this is what, you know, happened to her, and this is what she wants to happen to Darby Allin. Okay, it's probably not going to happen, but at least you have more than just stomping your feet on the internet and trying to get this guy's career ruined, you know, which I think is ultimately the bullshit in the game. You know, but let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Like this video, share this video, subscribe to the channel, donate to the channel. Thank you guys for your time. I'll talk to you guys later.